won't believe this next story. Our next guest went from slinging crack to selling houses.
Wow. All right, we're here to discuss his unlikely rise to the top of the real estate game and his new life in front of the camera is Jay Morrison.
Hey, Jay, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Your story is like the stuff of Hollywood. It's such an unlikely story. I mean, how do you go from flipping kilos to flipping luxury homes? Explain.
Well, a light went off, so I woke up, and I give credit to God for kind of working with me and being patient. But yeah, I went from a life of drug trafficking to now and flipping kilos, as you say, to now flipping houses, selling multi-million-dollar houses, and just having become a young real estate mogul.
Now let's circle back. At the height of your career, your drug dealing career, if you can call it a career.
It was a career.
Okay.
No 401k, but it was a career.
But you were making six figures, easily
Absolutely.
Clearing $100,000 a year. You were only 16. What were you spending that money on? And even how did you become such a big deal in that world?
Well, I grew up really poor. My father wasn't my biological father left at 3 months. My stepfather was in prison. My mom was struggling. We were on free lunch, food stamps, all that stuff. And I just had a lot of ambition. Like, I hate growing up poor. I hated the free lunch ticket lines in school. I hated being in the welfare line. And as I became a teen in the early 90s, mid 90s, there was so much money being made within the crack epidemic. I just hit the streets and was like, I'm gonna make it. That was what I thought was gonna be my ticket out of the hood, was going to be selling drugs. And, I wasn't a big spender. I mean, I just saved under my mattress till my shoebox got full. Then I bought a big safe, and then I filled that up. And then 4 months later, after I graduated high school, after dropping out of high school, I went back and graduated. 4 months later, I landed on Rikers Island, Mod 3 Upper, C-74, for drug trafficking here in New York and a loaded handgun.
Well, how long did you spend in jail, and was it just the enticement of all the money that led you to that life?
It was just the money. It was flat out the money. I was offered 3 years of life in prison in New York.
Wow.
I would plead guilty to a year as my first offense. You would think that I would have learned my lesson, but I came home and learned a lot of drug tricks in the New York prison, and came home and sold some more drugs, and would end up actually catching 2 more felonies in Maryland for drug trafficking in New Jersey.
Wow.
Now, your father is the one who told you to sell in Nebraska as well.
Correct.
Outside of New Jersey, Nebraska and Baltimore, and he also taught you how to cook crack. Is that true?
Yeah, it's kind of a sad story, but at the time, and what makes it so sad.
Most fathers are teaching their sons how to throw a football or tie a tie, and your father's teaching you how to cook crack. Did you feel like there was something that was not normal about that?
No, because at that time, I had embraced that lifestyle. Everything, it's sad, but when you enter the drug world or the underworld, you take it as a fraternity, just as someone in college would, and you buy into all facets of that lifestyle. So when my dad said, hey, son, we could make more money in Nebraska than here in New Jersey, we could double our money, and I went out there, I was happy as a kid catching a football from his dad, because that was my world.
And you almost treated it like a business, because in an interview with the New York Observer, you said you could make so much money because you overworked everyone, and you were nice to your clients, even taking them out to lunch. It's like business transactions for drugs.
I naturally had some, business skills. So where everyone else would look down on people because they were getting high or they were quote unquote crackheads, I would treat people like normal, regular people who just had a certain, enjoyment. And I did. I figured I couldn't be in all places at once. So I had a team in Baltimore, a team in Nebraska, a team in New Jersey. This is at 17, 18 years old. And,
so you were the CEO of this drug enterprise.
More or less.
So if jail didn't change you, you went right back out and did the same thing. What was it that led you to a straighter life and getting out of the drug game?
Yeah, when did you have the epiphany?
Well, it was at 25 years old, and this is still selling drugs after having a charge in New York, charge in Jersey, charge in Maryland. And I was just thinking, I was on a block in Newark, New Jersey, and I had a bunch of blood guys hustling for me. These are real gangsters, real gangbangers, real killers. And I was just looking at my picture, and I imagined, where would I be when I'm 30, at 25? And I could only picture dead or in jail. So I tried to reimagine that image for myself, and I couldn't even picture success at all. I only could picture dead or in jail. And I said, you know what? I can't write this story. I can't live out something I know is a lose-lose for me. Like, there's no way that one of these guys aren't going to kill me one day, or I'm not going to be back in prison. So I broke my phone. I had a family phone and a drug phone, a business phone. And I broke my quote-unquote business phone. I threw it away that day, and I went cold turkey and said, I'm going to try this real estate thing full-time.
Well, and you turned those drug transactions into house transactions, and by the age of 27, you own 6 houses?
Yeah,
That's pretty impressive. What attracted you to the real estate game?
Well, I learned a little bit about it while I was on parole, and I actually had a mortgage job while on parole, learning the business. And houses, it just made sense. Like even when I was 17, when I was in Baltimore, a guy that I was kind of like my older mentor, so to speak, in the streets, he told me, he said, Slim, you could buy all the jewelry and cars in the world, but God ain't making no more land. Buy land, supply and demand. So those principles stuck with me, and as I got into real estate, it was the closest thing to making flips and fast money that I saw in the business world. Not to mention I had 3 felonies. I just couldn't walk into a Rise TV and say, hey, give me a job.
Right.
No, you couldn't. But now you can. But how does the drug game resemble the real estate game? You mentioned flipping. I mean, I've watched The Wire. I don't know what the streets are really like, so I'm going to say I've watched The Wire. It's pretty close. Okay, but I know people battle over territory. Is it like that in the real estate world as well? People battling over, like, this is my block, Central Park West.
Right, yeah, and that was so, I guess, the big storyline behind me infiltrating Bergen County in Alpine, New Jersey, is that I walked into a luxury market where there's very few African Americans, very, very few African American males, and I went into that market and I built a really strong brand. And now we're listing $10 and $12 million houses there with big time clients who know my history, know my background. So I just took the same ambition, same creativity, same business models, and I just took it to another level, to another industry.
And just for clarification, Alpine, New Jersey is where a number of sports figures and prominent
Celebrities,
rappers
and it's
R&B
actually
stars
Alpine is
live.
America's richest zip code. It's the
Okay.
richest town in America. And I challenged myself to go there and sell in that industry. But majority of my money was made flipping houses, building houses, developments, and actually coaching people on how to do what I do.
Now, you say some of your clients actually know your background and your history. Has that ever lost clients, them saying, oh, we're not going to work with you because you had this past?
I think it's gained me more clients than it's lost me. Because I'm so upfront and I'm so transparent, people appreciate my
When you say
authenticity.
you're upfront, you meet them and say, hey, I used to be a crack dealer or went to jail. What do you?
Well, I mean, you build a relationship, and all my stuff is on the web. I mean, Google J. Morrison, and everything pops up. So there's no hiding from it. But people appreciate the fact that I made this transition. I've been really serious about it. I've been consistent about my my new life, and even my client in Alpine, David Brown, beautiful architect and builder. He asked me. He said, he said, Jay, what's the largest house you sold prior to my Alpine house? I said $500,000. It was my own house. He said, man, the courage of you to come in here and tell me that your largest house was $500,000 you sold, and you want to list my $10 million house. He said, you got the job.
Wow.
So it's just, being a good person, having a good character, having integrity, people respect it.
What other lessons did you learn from the streets that you've applied to your real estate career?
Well, I think it's a lot of loyalty. I treat my team well, my real estate team. I just formed the J. Morrison Academy, an online real estate school, and I have a full staff that's running that. So I figured out how to duplicate myself and duplicate my knowledge. And that's something that I learned in the streets, was that you want to cover more territory. So you got to train people and train them to be like you and run an operation in their town how you had. So I do the same thing in real estate. I train people in Philly. I train people in DC. I train a lot of inner city youth and mentor a lot of people on how to get money in real estate on the blueprint that I learned.
Wow. So what's the end all goal for you? Do you want to be, you're on this TV show, Open House NYC, you're selling these multi-million-dollar homes. You want to be Donald Trump? What is it?
No, the black Donald Trump maybe, but for me, it's really less about real estate, and that's why I've scaled down the amount of clients I take on. For me, it's really about using my story, using my testimony, and using the gifts I have as a speaker, as a mentor, as an inspirational figure to lead our community. So my end-all be-all goal is to be the biggest role model, biggest inspirational figure, and someone has solutions for the minority and underserved community, someone that can give back based on my story and experiences.
Wow.
Do I hear a career in politics?
It sounds like
I don't know if politics is the way, but I would say millennial leader.
Millennial leader.
Either way you have it, people love a success story. Turn your life around.
Absolutely, thank you.
Wow.
Thank you so much. I'd vote for you.
Yes.
Hey, let's go.
Got our votes. Thank you so much for being here and
All
sharing
right, thank
your
you
story.
for having me. Young minds can.
And you're watching Arise Entertainment 360.